setting of where this house is and the richness of the landscape really needed to be the star of this show, and it actually in a way helped inform how we designed the inside of the house. We used restraint. We pulled back on the details. The minimalism of each little connection, each piece of furniture, each trim, each transition, they're subtle, but they're very intentional, and it provides that calm tranquility.
From a landscaping standpoint, we actually wanted the structures to be secondary and the gardens to be first. Because we wanted that progression, we wanted that element of surprise as you're entering through the gardens and not knowing where everything was. Our first meeting was on site with the client and the team, and the moment we all got together, we knew that this was a special place. We got to study the sunlight, how it filtered through the trees, the wind and the breeze, how it moved, the views to the water, which actually weren't really views because it was so unkept you couldn't see the water. But it was a good example for me to tell my client, we're not going to blow all this planting out. We're going to create vignettes and views that you can enjoy and just create an element of surprise when you're looking out the water.
The trees that we had are generations old. And so working within those and through those to capture the sight lines and to take advantage of those and try to disturb those as little as possible helped us to take a house that's really a fairly large house and break it up into different pavilions. Because we use the pavilion kind of concept for this house where we have different rooms and each function is spread out along the property, you end up with a lot of transitions and pathways that connect these spaces. When you've separated the house out into the pavilions, that transition where you're walking from one space to the next is a really nice juxtaposition to like the larger spaces. So you get a little moment of calm, you get a moment of transition where you make a turn and all of a sudden there's another surprise. Not that anything's too distant from the other, but being able to walk through these different transitions helps give a little bit of privacy and intimacy to the spaces that need it, but then also that kind of taking a breath before you step into those larger spaces.
It's all about procession or progression as soon as you come through the gates. And when you drive through the entrance, there's two beautiful Royal Poinciana trees that were existing and in that spot, and we specifically put the entrance there to kind of say hello as you enter in, and then we just made this driveway meander and kind of guide you through the gardens. The midsection of the property, we fooled around with the gardens and created a formal aspect, which is in contrast with everything else. So everything is constantly guiding you and leading you to the gatehouse and then to the guest house and then of course to the main building. And everywhere you turn, there's some element of surprise that you're not expecting.
So a project like this that took probably 3 years to build and another 12 months before that to design, you have a relationship with the client for at least 4 years. When you're going through that process, there's a lot of iterations. You start with a concept, and as you work through it and you see it start to develop and you start to respond to what's happening on the site and what's happening as you see the forms come up, even by having a central leader who's your architect and your builder, you're able to be a lot more responsive to those changes and to be able to move with the client and adapt with them. We use the classic proportion and form of the house and the plan of that, the gabled roofs and where the windows are located, the kind of local symmetries to each little piece. But then the house itself is a reduction of that. So we continue to pull the details down and refine it and execute in a way that felt more contemporary. So it really is exercise in restraint. Being in South Florida, this home, you just have this really rich palette. The overriding feature of all that is that green and the sun. So by pulling in a palette that emulates the outdoors with that kind of sandy coral stone that you see outside, the ipe wood, like all those materials were brought inside as well, which gives a really seamless transition between those two, but it also ties them together. So the palette itself is pretty restrained. Each selection is extremely important to get the right choice because we are using such a minimal palette. And so the plaster that was used, the oak on the ceilings, actually reclaimed oak that we brought in from Europe, that was lime washed. The lime in the wash matches the lime that's used in the plaster. So you're getting natural materials that speak to each other, but they're used in different ways. We were invited to go to Europe by the owner, and we toured some of the art galleries. We looked at some different materials and resources, especially the way that plaster was applied in Europe, to bring those techniques back. In fact, we brought a team back here to Florida and we set up a mock-up in our warehouse, and we had them show us some different techniques, and we built some full-size samples of some different rooms, worked on 100 different shades of pigments and hand movements, sanding levels, and all these different methods to make sure that it was just right. We used a lot of the plaster to make the walls and the doors as quiet as possible, so that really your eye would be drawn out the windows and out to the landscape, to the pools and the water features, and the inside could just be as calm and quiet as possible.
The bones of this that we inherited is kind of like no other project. We just had to be extremely careful during construction and protect these trees, work around them, and make sure that what we were doing wasn't destroying what existed, that natural look on the character. This type of more natural, organic look is difficult to achieve because you don't want anything to look too new. You don't want anything to be in contrast with what's happening in the surroundings. And everyone is so focused on designing like perfect gardens all the time, clipped hedges and pretty flowers, that doing something natural and not paying attention to all the perfect lines can be a little difficult. So you almost have to learn when to put your pencil down. There is a space off the kitchen with a beautiful tree that has filtered views through it to the water. It's like a painting or a mural, and it's just so romantic. And we weren't expecting this, but we had to build some retaining walls that we clad with coral. So if you're standing outside on the terrace looking back at this tree, it wasn't planned, but this wall perfectly frames this tree, and it just becomes this massive statement. The great thing about this whole project is no one knows it's here. It's like a time capsule. You're walking into this preserved history.
I think that all the occupants of this home, I hope that they walk away with like a deep appreciation for the intention and detail that went into this home, and that in itself is what's going to give this house a longer life.